Jomba yezi dekenyuma gebu yo gebu ye gebu ere ye yami ere ere ye yami ere Jalilua, Jalilua, Jilia, yeah. Oh, Jalilu Beme, Jilia, yeah, Jilia. Oh, Nabi Bangura. Bangura ika microfile na be alabara o iyo jalia ka jaliada iyo jalia lale ka jaliada damo filatara ye jalia damo filatara Kabini kepunana Ameriki jeli denube jamana tiara O kabini kepunana Ameriki jeli denube jamana tiara Iyo jalia
Good afternoon. I am delighted to welcome all of you to Unity San Francisco. And we like to start events like this with a land acknowledgement. We honor the Ramaytush Ohlone people for their enduring commitment to Mother Earth. As Indigenous protectors of this land, and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, never lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as caretakers of this place, as well as for the people who reside in their traditional territory. We recognize the benefits from living and working on their homeland. As uninvited guests, we affirm their sovereign rights as First People and wish to pay our respects to the ancestors, the elders, and the relatives of the Ramaytush community. We recognize to respectfully honor, we must embrace and collaborate meaningfully to record Indigenous knowledge and how we care for San Francisco and its people. And I am delighted, right now I'm going to introduce two amazing people. We have Jennifer Carolyn King and Kudzi Chikumbu. Welcome.
Welcome, everyone. It is an absolute joy to have you join us here today. Kudzi, thank you for being my co-MC today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is quite incredible. So, people don't know this, a lot of people don't know this, but I was born in Zimbabwe, and then I moved to South Africa, and in that time, I became an accountant, which was fine, I didn't love it. So I was a YouTuber by weekend and at nights. This is before they called it the creator economy. So I decided I wanted to do that, work in that industry for a living. So I ended up going to Stanford, where I got my MBA as a way to transition careers. And then I had this incredible career at TikTok. And just 2 weeks ago, we met on the campus at Stanford. And this feels like a full circle moment. Having been born in Zimbabwe, here back in the Bay, talking about celebrating the rise of Africa, I think something in our orbit was trying to bring us together this whole time.
Indeed. And thank you to our extraordinary musicians. I often say my soul is in Africa, and with that beat, I understand why. You bring it. And This has been an incredible journey for us as entrepreneurs, as investors, and as philanthropists. We have been on a pathway of purpose. Our home in San Francisco has become a place to purpose, first for change-making leaders, and then eventually a focus of founders. When I was building my first company, biospace.com, one of the very first internet companies in the world, my folks sat us down at 3000 Sand Hill Road and said, we want you to know that our net worth is going to go to charity. And we want to work together as a family to create a family foundation together. So the roots were set for us to step into giving back to the world. And then fast forward, we built Thrive Foundation for Youth together. Tim and I turned our beautiful home in the Western Addition into the Thrive House for Youth, serving at-risk youth and their mentors for 8 years. And then Tim, as a systems thinking expert out of MIT, we attended this philanthropy summit that inspired us to think that next chapter, chapter 2, would be to turn our home in Seacliff, San Francisco, into the Thrive House 2.0, where we're serving the mentors and the leaders of the world. Little did we all know that COVID was coming and how this would unfold. But indeed, COVID came, and we started to serve leaders one at a time, because it was COVID. And that led to 200 leaders from now 26 countries. And now fast forward, our daughters attended Stanford Business School, as you have, has been part of the journey of our turning what we're creating into the sort of the next level. Our ultimate goal is to 12x these extraordinary founders in whom we've invested. But it really, for me, I stand on the shoulders of giants, with my folks giving graciously to create the Stanford Institute for Innovation and Developing Economies. Maybe many of you have heard that. That's Bob and Dottie King. A shout out to my mom and dad if you're listening. And tell us about your journey, because that's something that's really a common ground between the two of us. Likewise.
Absolutely. We had an incredible conversation a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago to be exact, almost to the day. And I was telling her about how I got here and my father's story. So my dad was born in Zimbabwe in the Eastern Highlands, gorgeous, beautiful mountains. If you've never been, you should go. Mm-hmm. And, he was the youngest of 15 children. And
Wow.
And he made it from the village to the C-suite. He is the chairman of Aon, the risk management company for all of Africa, which is quite incredible, having been born in a village all the way to the C-suite. And he was only able to do that because he had 14 other siblings, and they were older, so they went to school, and they were able to pay for him to be even more educated than they were. And he's instilled that in us. And it's a testament to the people before you and around you in your community investing in you, and then doing that for other people. He has scholarships in his village, and to this day, he was just there really investing in that school, but reminding us of where you come from and your duty to give when you are given. So it's quite incredible that we're both here today, and I thank you so much. And also, I'm so excited to hear from all the amazing speakers that we have that are also leading movements that impact their communities and beyond.
Yes. Yeah. So he and I met at a Stanford Business School class where he was invited to speak on reputation. Can you just speak a moment about that and how that's now going to be the stepping stone for your professional career?
Absolutely. There's this class at Stanford called Reputation Management. As leaders, you need to manage your reputation for your business, but also for your person. And as someone who has worked in social media, TikTok for 8 years, I've been at the forefront of the importance of how you represent yourself online into the world, which actually we'll chat a little bit about that today. And in that class, it was really about having a heart-centered authenticity when you show up in the world, because that's how you're able to connect. Making sure that you are of service. A lot of people want to show up online and say, look at me, but it's actually about turning the spotlight away from you to other people so that you are of service. If you look at your most admired leaders and givers and people that have given impact, they do something that's not just for them. And then making sure that you're able to evolve over time as technologies change, the ways we communicate change, which again, we'll talk about today. So that's that class. And I know your daughter took that class a few years ago, which
Exactly.
I spoke
So
at.
Jesse was class of 2023 at the GSB, and when J.D. Schramm, our partner in this incredible event and this Discovery series, suggested that I might co-MC this celebration today and recommended Kudzi. And Jesse said immediately, "Oh, Mommy, I love him. He was in my class at Stanford Business School. Perfect fit." So thank you, J.D. Schramm, for the suggestion. And thank you, Kudzi, for joining me on stage to celebrate entrepreneurs who have come for a day to breathe. And this is our pivot to the next step in this beautiful journey that we're stepping into today. Before I do, I have to share with you, when I said that my soul is in Africa, it truly is not only my soul, but my home. Tim made the recommendation before we even knew COVID was coming to go spend 1 year in our Africa-inspired home in Kennebunkport, Maine. And that has become our primary residence. And you know what it's called? Asante Sana. Thank you very much in Swahili. So we are very, very blessed to have our primary residence as Asante Sana, but Casa Almare in San Francisco has become this place to purpose where we have given birth to a day to breathe. And Allison Berardi, our extraordinary, one-of-a-kind lead coach, curator, and so much more to Rugged Elegance, is here to share with you, to step in, to give you a taste of the day to breathe, where it all starts for conscious entrepreneurs to come in as we strive to help them 12x their positive impact in the world. Allison, welcome.
Hello, everyone. So what if powerful leaders could actually just stop, not give up, but just pause, reflect, and realign, take that moment? Here we are at Africa Rising, which is an extraordinary gathering of impact leaders and social entrepreneurs and visionaries. I want to welcome you here. I want to welcome all the people online. Thank you for all your registrations. I stand here before you, not just as a coach, not just as a curator, but really a witness to the powerful transformation that happens when people come for a day to breathe. They come to restore, to realign, to really slow down and to reset and get more clarity on the path forward. But before I really go into a lot of detail on the day to breathe, I want to set context for my work here with Rugged Elegance. You can see from this slide that really our mission is all about 12xing founders, and we start with the day to breathe. From there, we introduce our founders to the RE, Soulful Network of Impact Leaders, where they can tap into diverse forms of capital, intellectual, social, political, and even soulful capital. And you're gonna hear more about that from Jen later, Jennifer Carolyn King later. And we also have produced 4 discovery events here in partnership with Unity SF, and our incredible J.D. Schramm, who's a professor of communications and an incredible masterful speaker coach. So thank you. And also our newest element, which is the Butterfly Effect Fund, where our founders can access a community advised fund of capital. And you'll hear more about that from Timothy Friedel, our fund manager, later in the talk. So we really, you can go forward. Yes, so this is really our whole ecosystem here, and I wanted to really set the context right away for that. So let's take a moment just to have a breath together before I actually get into the origin of the day to breathe. So if you could just close our eyes together and let our shoulders drop and create some space between our ears and our shoulders. Take a deep breath through our nose and out through our mouth. Just soften the skin around the outer part of our eyes. Breathing in again. And exhaling. So the Day to Breathe started during COVID at the home of Jennifer, Carolyn King, and Timothy Friedel in Seacliff, San Francisco. It started during COVID when really the whole world was literally gasping for breath. And Jen and Tim, being the seasoned entrepreneurs that they are, reflected on what they needed but never had. And this is where the Day to Breathe really came into view. It was a day to stop, to listen, not to the noise, but to the inner wisdom. And they even said that if they had had a day to breathe when they were making really big decisions on their businesses, that it would have been a total game changer. So again, the Day to Breathe it's not a retreat. It's a reset. And it's not time off, it's more time in. So we've designed this full day experience for founders to restore, to reconnect, to make good decisions about their leadership. And to date, we have served 216 founders from 26 countries, as Jen previously mentioned. So I wanted to give you some visuals of our Day to Breathe. And here you'll see a beautiful depiction of some of our moments to breathe, if you will, during the Day to Breathe, illustrated by Samuel Leshnick, who is our incredible illustrator. And really this is from our sanctuary in San Francisco, California, which is in the Seacliff neighborhood. And the next slide is from Kennebunkport, Maine. And we've just launched the Day to Breathe in Kennebunkport. And Emily Cunningham was our first, who you'll hear from later, was our first Day to Breathe guest at Kennebunkport, Maine. She's with True Moringa, and you're going to hear her story in just a little bit. So the Day to Breathe is really about rituals that ground our nervous system and help us find our center, exercises that illuminate, and that also where we can release what no longer serves us, and conversations that catalyze, and mapping tools that chart the way forward. Also spaciousness that allows for catalyzing action and also awe-inspiring views. I want to draw your attention to our incredible African Rising magazine, and you can scan the QR code here, and you can actually, in the right bottom corner, use the arrow to flip pages. And I just want to alert you to page 10 is where we really spell out all of the Day to Breathe rituals. And we also have a gift for you related to these postcards. You can find a bowl of postcards downstairs at our table. Please feel free to take 1, 2, 3, and just maybe make a note to somebody who could use a moment to breathe, a reminder that a reset is just a breath away. So with all the Day to Breathe that we have been honored to serve, there are tears, there's laughter, and there's always breakthroughs. And there's always clarity that comes in the form of a download from above. Leaders are able, through the Day to Breathe, to make creative and strategic decisions that they wouldn't have normally. And the way that we was always envisioned with the Day to Breathe is to have one founder and a stakeholder come for the day. And so that's what we really try to stay true to, and you'll hear about that from our speakers. But our model is also flexible, and we have also been able to have groups come and enjoy the Day to Breathe format. We've actually spearheaded a women's department head Stanford pilot program that Dr. Christine Garuya will speak about her Day to Breathe. She was part of that first pilot. And also, we're just privileged to host the African Leadership University's graduate class of social entrepreneurs at the Retreat SF in the last month. And I know that the program lead and the partner lead, Laura Mapstone, wanted to be here today, but she's actually in the audience watching online. So thank you, Laura, for all you do. She brought 15 incredible social impact entrepreneurs from Africa, from 7 different countries, to the Soul Sanctuary, Casa El Mare, Retreat SF. And they reported being able to really integrate all that they had experienced over 3 weeks here, studying and learning from the best and the brightest in San Francisco Bay Area business. So I also want to tell you that we have a surprise. The founder of the African Leadership University is Fred Swaniker, and he has a surprise for you through our program next, and I'm very excited to share that, and that will be shared by Kudzi and Jen. So in a world that prizes hustle, the Day to Breathe reminds us that stillness is progress. It's where it all begins, is from stillness. And every speaker today has had a day to breathe, and that is the thread that connects all of us. And really, the day to breathe lives on in our founders through touchstones, and some of those touchstones you're going to hear about today. So I'm just going to end with this quote, and perhaps it's also an invitation to you to pause, to make space, to listen deeply, because when leaders breathe, they amplify their collective impact. Thank you. And I want to introduce Dr. Christine. And she's coming to the stage. She's an incredible physician at Stanford. She heads a whole department, the emergency medicine department there. She's a planetary health leader, really committed to health equity across the globe. Whether she's publishing in Time Magazine or she's building, continental partnerships, she is on fire. And I'm so happy to invite you to the stage, Dr. Christine.
Oh, Christine, yeah, Christine.
All right, well, hello everyone, and welcome. I just want to ask, are you all just not so excited to be here today? Right? I love Africa. I'm a little bit obsessed, maybe. And we get 2 whole hours together and then another networking session for an hour after to just talk and delve into Africa. And we get to learn and listen from visionaries and people who've given their heart, their time, and really their energy into the continent. So it's a pleasure to go on this journey with all of you today. But I really want to implore to all of you to really enjoy the show and take the fun part in, and our amusing musicians, one more clap for them. But more importantly, to come away with a tangible takeaway, okay? Something that you say is going to be your way or sense of ways that you're going to collaborate and partner with this inevitable and really exciting rise with Africa. So I have had a chance to be a part of one of those Day to Breathes, thanks so much to the really generous hearts of Tim and Jen, who open up not just their home, their space, their resources, for folks like me to get a time to just sit and think and pause and cry a little bit. I had the chance last year to meet with some other awesome Stanford women, talking about climate change and thinking about ways that we could affect change in that space as it pertains to global health. And yes, we paused and we rested and formed really amazing bonds that will go for many years to come. So, on to my comments for today. Africa's on the move, and it's one of the fastest growing regions in the world. Who said that, you might be wondering? Well, none other than President Barack Obama at the 6th Annual Global Entrepreneurship back in Kenya 10 years ago. So 2015, it doesn't feel that long ago. But even back then, he realized that we would be talking about this proliferation of the continent that we're speaking about today. So it's been held 6 times. That was the 2nd time ever in Africa. And there were a whopping 1,500 people who attended, raising the bar for entrepreneurs in that region. And thankfully, more than half of them were women. And so, we get to reckon with this moment in thinking about what they saw back then and knowing that for the next 20 to 30 years, you all, the next 20 to 30 years, we're going to be seeing even bigger, even better, even brighter. And what does this look like in terms of statistics? Well, about 2.5 billion people will be the makeup of the continent in 2050, which is not that far away. Okay, more than double of the current population is what we'll be at. And if you look around the room right now, it's going to look a little bit like this. So 1 in 4 people, I'm losing my slides. 1 in 4 people will actually be African on the continent. And like I said, what a unique experience to see that today. However, and like we'll get to witness today, the talent is incredible and the enthusiasm is infectious, but the capital is not equally distributed. Okay? And that's one of the challenges we want to talk about. So we have a super diverse continent. 54 countries. How many of you knew that? 54? Yeah, 54. 3,000 languages, some estimates. Some people say 2,000. And a lot of really interesting languages. These are just the most common ones, some of which you probably know about, some of which you might be surprised by. The story and takeaway there is Africa is nuanced, right? There are 1.5 billion different stories. And it's going to take a lot of thought and a lot of intentionality in the way that we partner and we celebrate and take part in this rise. All right, so some of you are wondering, who am I and why am I here speaking in front of you today? That's my name, phonetically pronounced for you. I'm Christine Garuya, first and foremost. Secondly, I'm a Kenyan. I'm a citizen of one of those awesome 54 countries. So I grew up there, and I have 2 Kenyan parents who I love dearly, who might be watching. Hi, Mom and Dad. Another part of my story, I was actually born in Nebraska, middle of the Midwest. Anyone born in Nebraska? I met a Kansan, yeah. JD's from Kansas, we're close by. Yeah, I know, some of you are wondering how that happened. The church, so the church actually. My paternal grandfather was an Anglican bishop who happened to make an amazing bond, as happens with Rugged Elegance, with another bishop in the middle of the Midwest. One thing led to another. 2 Kenyan Nebraskans were born, my sister and I. I used to say we were the only 2 Kenyan Nebraskans you'd ever meet. Not anymore, but that's how I ended up there, and I can tell you more about that later. But I'm also a physician, like Allison said. So I work in the ER, I see patients a few times a month, and it really keeps me grounded and set to my mission that I'm going to be talking about with you today. And just for the sake of today, when I am not sleeping, I'm also a global health researcher and social entrepreneur. So I've raised around $1 million worth of grant funding to drive sustainable interventions and really raising the amplification of what are called non-communicable or non-transmissible diseases in Africa, designing solutions for tobacco and mental health and heart disease and stroke now as well. Okay. So a few more parts of my story, one of the 1.5 billion stories you've heard about. I was actually grown up in a middle-class family. Okay, so we had 2 cars. I had humble parents, parents from humble beginning, and they worked super hard just to make sure, like many of you parents in the room, we would have a better experience today. So we went to private school. That's my sister Catherine and I up there judging our sports day for the day. And I really had a wonderful, full childhood, so I didn't want for much, quite honestly. I also, like many young kids around here, wore my hair straight, wore a lot of perms, long hairstyles, American clothes, and I was lauded a lot of times for my accent. You speak such good English, and you don't seem to have an accent. And by and large, as a kid, I thought that those were great things. I actually welcomed them as awesome compliments. But fast forward 10, 20 years later, working in this space in global health and partnering with people as a diasporan, someone outside of the country. And I've seen some inequitable attitudes with which global health is done sometimes, okay? And so this is an image from a picture from 2 leading global health experts, Shea Abimbola and Madhu Pai. I highly recommend taking a look at them and some of their work. And these are some uncomfortable terms we don't like to think about sometimes, but my challenge to you today is that too much is at stake for Africa, okay? And we don't have an opportunity to repeat some of the history that we have done that's gotten us to where we are today. So I encourage you to sit with these 2 as we're going through today. And I want to let all the diasporans know, because I can see your faces, your beautiful faces in the room, and some of you online, I can't see your faces, but virtually, I know you're there, that we can be perpetrators too. So as a diasporan, I had to take a step back and also realize that the way I did global health, the way I partnered, the way I worked with different innovators and entrepreneurs, et cetera, in Africa had to be done a different way. Okay, so Africa is rising. It's the fact. We're on the move. Yes, it is. That's worth a clap. Thanks, Allison. It's rising. That's the good news. Okay. But how can we do things better? How can we do things more mindfully in a way that actually contributes to the betterment of the continent in an equitable way? Well, first up today, I have an acronym specifically for you all. We're going to talk about amplification and amplifying Africa as part of this rise. So how are we going to amplify? We're going to start first by asking. Okay. So you're going to ask the partner, the person, the group, what they need from you for your intervention, your program, your proposal, your awesome business. We have many awesome business entrepreneurs in the room today. Rather than sometimes parachuting in, which is a lot easier, a lot quicker, and I've been guilty of it too, with our awesome idea that we just know is going to work. No, we're going to ask first. We're also going to meet people where they are. That's physically, mentally, emotionally, sometimes spiritually. And so I like to always commemorate on awesome cups of coffee or a really great lunch that maybe your friend took you to that you just really needed on that day. Yeah, we live in a world today of Zoom, everybody. Yeah, COVID-19, right, catapulted us into Zoom life, okay? I want to challenge you that it's so important to go back to basics and to meet with people because it makes a difference. We're going to meet people and we're also going to pause. You're going to hear that a lot throughout the day, okay? You're going to pause because, friends, I want to let you know that America is very fast-paced. We talk fast. We move fast. We want to get there now. Not everywhere in the world is like that. So it's going to take some patience, differences in cultural practice appreciation, and pausing. We're also going to listen. One of the credits, both to the Bible and apparently Angela Mayu, is this reflection on 2 ears and 1 mouth, because we listen before we speak. We never know what we actually might learn. And we have this saying in global health, I see some of you in the room, that communities and individuals actually know what they want, right? Imagine that. And if we just ask them and listen, they'll actually tell us what it is that they need. So listening. We're also going to investigate, okay? How many of you are founders, innovators, entrepreneurs in the room? You've piloted before. You've piloted something. Yeah, I've piloted a lot of things. Hopefully you don't have pilotitis, right? You're moving from pilot into the next stage eventually. Okay, you're going to pre-test this idea that you've conceived, maybe on a smaller sample, and see how it goes before you hopefully move on to a successful stage of finalizing. Launching this awesome business or program or intervention or project that you've been working on, and being able to loop back and see how it works and what you found. And then maybe you get to yield. You get, right, both income or whatever result it was looking for impact in terms of getting your output. But I also have another meaning to yield today for you all, which is letting go. And that's sometimes uncomfortable. In global health, we also have a lot of sayings around the success of our programs being that they were sustained even when we left, after we were gone. For some of you in business, that might look like scaling and getting out of the way of your own baby so that somebody else can take it further than where it was initially going to go. And that may be the case in some of the Africa work that some of you might do. Okay. I wanted to take a moment to honor a true literary giant, an aficionado, an African historian and activist who passed away, unfortunately, this week. Ngugi wa Thiong'o, who happened to be from my country, said in one of his writings that there are some people, be they black or white, who don't want others to rise above them. They want to be the source of all knowledge and share it piecemeal to others less endowed. So I'm here to challenge you all today with those wise words that Africa doesn't need pity, it needs partnership. Okay? And for the mantra for today, actually coined by Cedric in the room, who you'll hear later, it doesn't need charity, it needs change makers. So let's amplify today so that little African girls like me can successfully get to stand in front of audacious audiences like you all in the next 10 years with bigger and brighter stories. Thank you so much, Jen and Tim, for your awesome work for the past 30 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, soul sister, Dr. Christine. Dr. Christine came into my life not that long ago, but it was as the result of a beautiful woman, Erin Hunt Moore, who said, Jen, you live in this world where you're always giving, 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 giving. And where are you getting fed in having a community of impact? And from that, we created the Soul Sister community as part of our Day to Breathe. And thank you for those women in this audience today who are part of that Soul Sister tribe. I'm so grateful. I could not be where we are today. And Allison Berardi is the result. As is Christine. So thank you for your contribution. And as I just honor your contribution in setting the tone for the significance of why Africa Rising is so profound, not just for Africans, but for the world. Thank you for setting the tone and setting the landscape, why the world needs to pay attention. You are a soul sister, also from Kenya, is a soul brother of ours. And he was on the path when COVID hit. We started this path where we were profoundly dedicated in the role of philanthropy, running the Rugged Elegance Foundation, of offering a day to breathe to people that correlated to our philanthropic mission. Our mission is actually to inspire healthy, adventuresome, soulful living and philanthropic giving. And when we meet people like Allison and Christine who inspire healthy and adventuresome and soulful, we say they has magic. And I would say you all here has magic. Chapter 1, when COVID hit, we focused on climate champions, climate activists. And then from there, a gentleman, also Kenyan, a soul brother, Mwangi Mukami, came to me and said, might we celebrate BIPOC leaders? I never knew what BIPOC meant, but we dug in honor of Black History Month. And that then led to a Sexual Assault Awareness Month of leaders. And that led to a Mental Health Month of leaders. And then that led to a Pride Month of leaders. And he was our coach curator back in that day when COVID was rampant. And we dedicated 10 people, well, 20, because it was oftentimes, if they were under the same roof, 20 people in a given month during COVID. It was quite profound. He got excited about our passion around regenerative agriculture and climate change. Now, this is a man from Kenya. So you would think that if he's going to go take a look at bringing a prospective investment to us around regenerative agriculture, of course, he would choose Kenya, right? He did not. And this goes back to my folks, Bob and Dottie King, who when we as a family went from creating Thrive Foundation for Youth to looking at the profound change that needed to happen in the world, they sat down, they dug deep, and they said, it is so wrong that so many people in this world live on $1 or $1.50 a day. That's wrong. So we need to change that. And with that change, they gave birth to SEED at Stanford Business School, the Stanford Institute for Innovation in Developing Economies. And when that happened, Mwangi took a cue and said, I'm going to go to Ghana, where SEED was first born. He went and met with my other soul brother, Emmanuel Kitcher, to this day, the associate director of SEED. And when that happened, we were introduced to our next speakers, Emily Cunningham and Kwame Williams. Kwame came with his wife, Daisy, a couple of years ago for a day to breathe. And Emily was the very first entrepreneur who came to Asante Sana for a day to breathe in Maine. We are so proud to be investors in you. We are so proud of the next chapter that we're stepping into, as Tim will share later in the Butterfly Effect Fund. And we welcome you to the stage and share your story and the profound journey you're on, changing the literal land of regenerative agriculture, first in Ghana and eventually the nation, the continent. Welcome.
Emily Kwame Sabuya Emily Sabuya Kwame yeah Emily Kwame.
This is Moringa. My name is Kwame, and this is Emily. And the three of us met through MIT's DLAB program in Ghana. Back then, it was 2013, NGOs had encouraged farmers to cultivate this plant, a fast-growing, drought-resistant, water-purifying tree called moringa. Packed full of amazing nutritional benefits, gram for gram, the leaves of the tree contain more iron than spinach, more protein than yogurt, and more calcium than milk. But unfortunately, farmers didn't have a way to earn a living cultivating moringa, simply because they lacked a guaranteed market. This was 10 years ago. Today, we are building West Africa's largest organic certified, solar-powered, regenerative farm. Now 200 acres, but soon to be 1,000 acres, growing moringa and more.
Thank you, Kwame, for that introduction. It has been a joy to build True Moringa alongside Kwame, going from when it was just the two of us in 2013 all the way to today, where we have 117 employees along our supply chain, serving 5,000 farmers. And the reason that Kwame can't be with us here in person today is because we are embarking on an exciting new chapter in our journey. We are planting 10 million trees this year, starting this month. And so Kwame is on the ground in Ghana making sure that every single one of those trees gets planted on our regenerative organic farm. Now, what does it mean to say regenerative? A regenerative system is simply a system that you're getting more out of than you're putting into. And when we apply that to farming, this just means that we're making small investments in the health of the soil today so that we can get 10x the yield that we might otherwise. So this type of agriculture it's not new in Ghana by any means. Farmers have been farming this way for centuries. And it's better for not only the planet, it's better for farmers, and it's better for you. Studies have shown that more nutrient-dense ingredients are grown in healthier soil, and so healthier products come out of regenerative farming. Now that we've zoomed out a bit, I'd love to zoom in and focus on the story of one farmer in particular. I'd love for you to meet Ya Naomi. Now, in Ghana, despite having practiced regenerative agriculture for centuries, so many people still have to turn to environmentally harmful practices just to earn a living. Now, for some people, this means slash and burn farming. For others, it might mean illegal gold mining in the rivers, leaching harmful chemicals into the soil. And for others, like Ya Naomi, it means creating charcoal through the destruction of forests. So actually cutting down and burning the very trees that are meant to hold the soil in place. The soil that is sustaining the livelihoods and the food security of the community. Now, when Kwame and I met Ya Naomi in 2020, she was cutting down trees to earn a living, and she was not happy about it. And so Kwame and I asked her and farmers like her, what would it actually take to go from earning a living this way to earning a living through regenerative agriculture? And she and the other farmers in the community gave us an education. And they also gave us a roadmap to build the regenerative farm that we have today. So they outlined 3 problems that farmers face: access to land, access to capital, and access to market. Now, this first issue, access to land, farmers in Ghana, especially women and tribal minorities, do not have access to land of their own. And so they can't plant permanent crops like high-value trees like moringa. And so what we did was we leased a 150-acre parcel of land from the community. We subdivided it into plots, and then we invited anyone who lacked access to land to come and farm on that land. We outfitted this land with everything that you would need to create a thriving farm, including solar-powered irrigation, including transport to the farm, a child care center, even supports to encourage scholarships for school-age children. And so this second problem, access to capital. Now, no bank was going to lend to our farmers to give them the inputs they needed to kickstart their moringa farms. Expensive inputs like organic seeds and fertilizer and organic pesticides. So we created our own bank. Together with farmers, we set up village savings and loan associations. These are essentially microbanks, groups of 30 women that self-select into a group, and together they're educated in financial literacy, and they become excellent stewards of the capital that they're going to earn from their farm. Now, week over week, they have the opportunity to save just a little bit of money from the income that they earn from the farm, and that pool of money grows. When it grows large enough, and as trust continues to build among the members, that pool of money can be lent out to any individual member to improve their farm, invest in their farm. When that member pays back with interest, everyone's pool of money grows even bigger. Now, in this way, we have been able, the farmers have been able, to save and lend over $1 million in 4 years. That's US dollars. Give it up for them. This is despite a COVID pandemic. This is despite rapid inflation in Ghana. Year over year, this program has doubled. The last problem, access to market. Now, time and again, farmers had been disappointed by really well-intentioned NGOs who had come in with a short-term project to grow some shiny new crop. Sometimes it was sunflowers, sometimes it was jatropha, but basically they would focus on a very narrow part of the supply chain. Maybe they'd give them seeds, maybe they'd give them training, but often they didn't vet the market. So they didn't connect them to buyers. They weren't sure if anyone was even interested in buying the stuff that was being grown. So farmers would put their blood, sweat, and tears into cultivating these crops only to be disappointed. So we made a promise. We promised farmers that we would buy everything that they produce. We would buy all of their raw material, and we would transform it into finished products in Ghana, adding value in country, creating jobs locally. And we would build a brand that could stand behind these products, so that whenever anyone is using our moringa facial oil or adding moringa powder to their morning smoothie, they can feel great knowing they're impacting the health of the planet, the health of our farming community, and their own health and wellness, because they're enjoying the most nutrient-dense, healthy foods and skincare products grown in healthy soil. So Jen and Tim and Allison and I spoke at length at our Day to Breathe, not only about regenerative agriculture, but also the need for a regenerative capital system, a new kind of philanthropy that takes into account the needs of all stakeholders, that starts from a place of pause, of rest, rather than a place of hustle, and that starts from a place of equity rather than a place of unequal power structures, so that everyone from donors and investors to implementation partners to farmers are getting more out of this system than they're putting in. So back to our farmer, Ya Naomi, and how she participates in this regenerative system. Now it takes about a $250 loan for a farmer to kickstart their farm. Ya Naomi's taken this loan, she's invested in her farm, and when she pays back that money with interest, she'll pass on the opportunity to 10x her income to the next farmer. And talk about a truly regenerative system, Ya Naomi is investing the proceeds of her farm into the education of her children. Yagika and Hilda are in nurses training college, and Daniel and Claire are in primary school. And she told us in an interview with one of our field officers, she said, "I am gradually achieving my life's goal of ensuring that every single one of my children gets a college education." So we're so proud of Ya Naomi and her work, and we look forward to amplifying all of the work of all of these farmers on our farm. So I think when you look at an abandoned kind of field that's deforested, as Kwame and as our farm team are doing right now, you can feel two things. You can feel overwhelmed, you can feel despair, or you can decide to roll up your sleeves and plant one tree. knowing that when your community comes behind you to redouble your efforts, to 10x your efforts, you can envision the forest that will arise. Thank you.
That was incredible. Thank you so much. That was incredible. I loved learning about regenerative farming, and I was thinking there's so many themes. In the same way that my dad's family reinvested in him, the same way that True Moringa is reinvesting in their community, and in the way that Jen and Tim reinvest in their entrepreneurs, and some that will learn a little bit more exactly how they do that. So that was beyond inspiring.
And Emily and Kwame, congratulations. This is the next chapter of your stepping into this regenerative economy that we are building. And shortly you're going to hear from Kudzi and Tim about how specifically we are doing that. When
Wait, Jen, I love the term regenerative economy. Do you own that? You should keep that.
Right,
you should
right?
keep
Let's
that for
go.
you.
Let's go.
So don't steal that from me. You need to trademark that one. That was good. That was good. Well, you know, we have the ecosystem of Rugged Elegance, and I would love for you to tell us a little bit more of the Soulful Network.
Love it. Well, I'll tell you, I was very blessed to be one of the first internet pioneers to create one of the very first internet companies in the world that serves the biotech and pharmaceutical industry. In 1995, when we became philanthropists with my family, we launched biospace.com, the hub site for biotech. We ended up raising $30 million in venture funding. Today represents a pivot for me in my story, where I have for decades say, I raised $30 million and I witnessed my company taken from me. My company is alive and well today, and where's Lawrence Shorter? Where is Lawrence? He's one of the first 5 people of Biospace. We just celebrated 30 years of business. Biospace.com, they continued. Thank you. So grateful you are here today, and what a celebration that I get to now pivot from saying this happened to me to based on what we've been doing the past 5 years with sharing our home as a place to purpose, and then creating the Soulful Network, and now the Butterfly Effect Fund. I get to say, finally, thank you, God, this happened for me. This is meant to be. This was intended to happen so I could lean in and have empathy and support founders in such a profound way. Now, if I had been given a day to breathe when I raised Tim and I raised initial $25 million, I honestly might have said, you know what? I fell into the biotech industry. I fell into the internet. Thank you that I got to be a pioneer in that realm. But if I had been given the gift of a day to breathe, I frankly would have probably, and I did after we left, build RE, the Soulful Network of Social Impact Leaders. We built it, we invested our own significant dollars in it, and then we put it on the shelf because a lot of people said Facebook was going to be the only social media site in the world. And you, as a star of TikTok, know that was proven against, right?
Yeah. Hard, but we did it. It was
right?
hard, but we did it.
So here we are, thanks to the advent of AI technology. Our daughter, Jessie, just had graduated from Stanford Business School. We get introduced to this extraordinary company that is bringing what some people might call digital twins. We are calling them, Soul Heirs, SOULHEIRS.
What is that? What is a digital heir?
So we say talent is evenly distributed, but capital is not. Each and every one of you have some form of capital that you can bring to the entrepreneurs here on the stage today. It might be cultural. We have so much to learn from Africa. The culture of Africa, the world needs to learn from you. Intellectual how-to capital, i.e. AI, a form of capital that can help 12x the impact of leaders that we are serving. Some people here may have political capital. Everybody knows somebody, so there's social capital. And I love to be that butterfly of the super connector, as I know you are, right? And then there's soulful capital, and that's where the day to breathe, in part, comes into play. So we take a look at this ecosystem of capital that entrepreneurs need, not just the financial, but these other aspects of capital. And so thus today is a twofold launch, and very proud, of the Soulful Network, of the Soulful Network of social impact leaders. And we are very, very, very proud that the first person whom we will present is someone you know and went to Stanford Business School with.
Yes, the incredible legend and leader in Africa. His name is Fred Swaniker. Many of you may know him, but if you don't, he went to Stanford Business School. He worked at McKinsey. He was the founder of the African Leadership Group and African Leadership Academy, and is the CEO of Sand Technologies. But I want to know, so you're telling me there's a version of Fred, a digital heir, where we can access his knowledge, insights, wisdom, and he can share it with us in real time.
A little bit of his soul, because there's a lot in that, right? How incredible that this man who would have loved to have been here today, but we couldn't clone him. Well, kind of we can now, right?
Yeah.
And so here we get the opportunity for us to have a conversation, and Kudzi's gonna ask a few questions of his soul heir, and you ready to make history? This is AI next level technology at its best. Bring on Fred Swaniker in the house.
Hey, Fred. How are you, first of all? And secondly, what are you most proud of from your accomplishments and impact on the African continent?
Sorry, there was a problem. Can you please say that again?
I can say that again. What are you most proud of your work in Africa?
Thank you for asking. What I feel most proud of is this. I have devoted my life to the cause of African leadership. And in doing so, I found my purpose, my community, and my joy. But beyond personal pride, what truly moves me is seeing the transformation in young Africans across the continent. Africa's best days lie ahead, and I am humbled to play a role in making that story a reality, one ethical, courageous leader at a time. I see it clearly in the eyes of a young woman at ALU inventing a device to solve water shortages in a village. I see it in an alumnus leading a social movement for ethical governance. I see our Ox coders competing on a global level, matching Silicon Valley talent. These thousands of individual transformations fill me with unshakable faith in the collective change to come. My journey, from a boy who once witnessed poor leadership to a man helping unlock the best in leaders around Africa, confirms to me that one person can make a difference, but a network of passionate people can truly change the world. Leadership is what will make or break Africa's future. That conviction is what drives me every day. So, my proudest accomplishment is seeing this ripple effect of transformation, the continent rising, with leaders who will shape the future with integrity and innovation.
Thank you. I have another question. We are here in San Francisco, so far away from the continent, very far on the West Coast. What can people here do who are non-Africans do on the continent to have an impact?
That's a thoughtful question. Being physically distant from Africa doesn't mean you can't be part of its rise. There are many ways to contribute meaningfully from anywhere in the world. For folks here in San Francisco, your energy and resources can help in a few key ways. Supporting African-led initiatives and entrepreneurs, investing in tech startups that are creating solutions on the continent, mentoring young African leaders, and amplifying the stories of positive change happening there. It's also about building genuine partnerships, not charity, but collaboration that respects African agency and innovation. Technology bridges distances, and we see it bringing skills, capital, and ideas into Africa faster than ever before. So the impact comes through creating networks, sharing knowledge, and believing deeply in the potential of Africa's leaders. It's a collective journey, and every committed heart and hand counts.
So before you ask a final question of Fred, and he might get tripped up because I'm interrupting, sorry about that, but I want you all to understand that this is Fred's soul heir that he owns, thanks to the technology that we have invested in. This is the content that he has chosen, his wisdom, his experience, whatever he decides. Now, our daughter Jessie had the privilege of meeting him, thought it was going to be an hour-long meeting, turned into a 2.5-hour meeting. And Fred is obsessed. He wants 3 million African leaders to have a soul heir. He is so excited about this. And we are so privileged to be able to bring this new technology to the world and then build a community to support the entrepreneurs primarily in whom we are investing. But you can imagine the impact that we can start to have. So I want you to think about, in your world, who would you say, specifically in the world where we're serving entrepreneurs, who should have an heir? We are investing in the pilot of the first 50, and Fred is one of the first. And as we grow this community to support, one of the 15 African entrepreneurs who came for a day to breathe was so profoundly moved. She says, oh my gosh, my 103-year-old great-grandmother who has been bringing regenerative agriculture to Africa forever, I could create an heir of her wisdom, her knowledge, her experience, and keep that legacy alive. That's going to change the world. We're going to keep her wisdom alive through this kind of technology, even if we lose her from the face of this earth. This is going to be profound. We might 25x some of you guys. This is going to be just this technology alone. So thank you.
This is
and
amazing.
Ask one last question, if you would, to bring it home.
Yes. What would you want everyone in this room to know about the mission that you are working on, Fred?
What I want everyone here to know is that our mission is rooted in belief in Africa's boundless potential and in the power of leadership to unlock that potential. We're not just talking about building businesses or infrastructure. We're talking about building a new narrative for the continent, one where Africa is a source of solutions, innovation, and ethical leadership. Every young leader we empower is a seed for this transformation. We're creating a network of change makers who will carry this vision forward with integrity and courage. This mission is bigger than any one person or organization. It requires all of us to come together, to believe and to invest in Africa's future as a place where dreams can flourish and lasting change happens.
Thank you so much. And I do want to make sure that I do honor Tim and Jen on this. This is incredible technology. If you think about me as a future entrepreneur, as I'm working on my ventures, or anyone that I know that tries to find a mentor, that tries to seek advice, you have it right there. This is a new way of really thinking through all the knowledge that you don't have from people you admire. So I think you're going to change the world. And I'm so happy to have witnessed this. This is incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And thank you for being a part of this. Is really history in the making right here. Love it. Okay, next up, we have
2 more entrepreneurs. They could not join us here today, and their digital heirs also couldn't join us here today. But they will be joining us with a video. Videos still work, and we're going to start with a video of them from Good Morning America. I met them via a friend of ours, so our worlds have been connecting. They're Helena and Fevin Johannes, and they have an incredible cosmetics brand called 2 for 1. So let's watch them and their clip from Good Morning America.
2 soul sisters from Eritrea.
I'm Fevin. And I'm Helena. And we're the co-founders of 2 for 1 Cosmetics.
Los Angeles-based twins and beauty entrepreneurs Fevin and Helena Johannes may look glamorous, but their beginnings were anything but.
Authenticity is actually, I think, the key to a lot of the success that we have so far.
Born in a hut at a refugee camp in East Africa during a civil war, their family made the dangerous journey from Eritrea to Sudan in the early 1980s, surviving landmine explosions and famine. After winning a green card lottery, a U.S.-based church sponsored the family's move to America when the twins were 2 years old.
You're a product of all of that. So what did those struggles teach you about being an entrepreneur?
I think resilience is in our bloodline. We really saw that you could be met with a lot of obstacles, but sometimes it could be the opportunity.
They found that female entrepreneurs of color were often over-mentored but underfunded. So the sisters used their own money to launch their hypoallergenic line of lip and eye makeup in 2019.
We wanted to be the brand that we didn't see. And that ultimately meant the people who are making decisions didn't look like us. They were really men who didn't have our skin tone.
They used social media to engage and grow their loyal following.
And we're live!
Within a year, 2-for-1 Cosmetics landed on Oprah's favorite things list, and makeup guru Bobbi Brown offered to mentor them.
I also love this formula because you can literally layer it and it doesn't get stuck.
To us, beauty is resilience, and it's really kindness and integrity.
Qualities they saw in their mother, an inspiration for their business.
Our mother would work late nights, and we watch her right before she would leave for her nurse shifts wearing red lipstick. It gave her this almost armor of courage to face the world and just feel really polished.
As for that name, 2-for-1 Cosmetics, well, that's a play on words.
People would constantly ask, are you guys 2 for 1? And our father, who is incredible, would say, you know, there's no discount on your self-worth.
Their parents, Tesfa Michael and Nagisti, beaming with pride as they spoke to us from their home in Rochester, New York.
Life was not easy for us, but we knew one thing. If we work as a team and told our kids where we came from, the value of education, the value of self-respect, 2-for-1 Cosmetics is the lifelong dream. We are very proud of them.
The cosmetics brand, a nod to the twins' African roots, with product names like the Red Sea and Asmara, their homeland's capital, each with its own affirmation.
You are the most influential person you will ever meet. So it's important that you put that love into yourself.
Their products are already in Bloomingdale's, on QVC, and online, but the ultimate goal is to bring the brand to Africa.
Eritrea has been our motivation. We eventually want to be in a position where we're stable enough to build roads and where our parents grew up, and just to give back to a country that's often been overlooked.
We've had remarkable success, certainly at 2-for-1 Cosmetics. The cornerstone, I believe, to that success is probably was my mom. That's actually what came to mind, is our mother, who was a complete champion for us. And although we've met incredible people like Bobbi Brown, Oprah Winfrey, DVF, Diane von Furstenberg, our mother is without a doubt the driving force, one of the driving forces to our business. And she has this catchphrase on Instagram, go sunshine to the world. And it's just her saying, go out to the world, be a light, be that ray. And I think a lot of times it's actually her light that often fuels us. And I met Tim and Jennifer through our younger brother, Nate. Nate actually introduced us, and he invited us by way of Jennifer to this holiday party. And I forget if it was like in Sherman Oaks or somewhere. And so I met Jennifer, and she was just so warm and lovely. And Tim was there too. But I walked into this really fun gathering. It was very festive. It was the holidays, and she was just so lovely and so warm. And that's actually why I told them, like, you have to meet this woman. And then
I think maybe a year later, we hopped on a flight, and she invited us to a day to breathe in San Francisco. And that's actually how we all met, was actually the Day to Breathe.
So I definitely remember a Day to Breathe. I remember the intention was to release, and something that I often think of actually with the Day to Breathe is that surrendering is not letting go, it's staying open, and it's a concept.
Isn't that amazing? Can I hear that one more time? That was so good.
Surrendering is not giving up, it's letting go and being open, I believe, to all that the universe and life has to offer you.
And it was therapeutic for sure. Well, you know what's interesting is that I was definitely surprised, but then I wasn't surprised because Helena mentioned earlier that I'm a dreamer. I actually told Helena and her husband Umar, I said, I really believe that Oprah is going to surprise us this time. So we found out they were going to be her favorite thing. And then I said, I feel like she's going to surprise us on Zoom. But I was not prepared emotionally for that.
At the end of the day, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it, like Simon Sinek. Wait. Oh my God.
Wait, it's happening. I tell you why I like it. You can give it to anybody of any race, any gender, any shade of color. That's why I like it. And that's why it's one of my favorite.
Thank you so much. We're just really grateful and a bit stunned.
I'm so happy to be able to share this.
Dream come true.
literally stunned. Honestly, that experience was just so affirming, and it really goes back to miracles are a norm when you're aligned, and that was Oprah. That is Oprah.
Yeah.
She's made such an impact on so many people's lives, on our brand ethos, on our brand, and to get that validation from Oprah, and for her to take her time. I mean, time is the most precious resource. She took her time to speak to us, and not only speak to us, to acknowledge our business, to acknowledge what we're doing, and it was incredibly validating, I have to say.
Absolutely. I actually, do you remember I was very polite? I asked her, because time is important. I said, may I share a story with her? And I told Ms. Oprah Winfrey, I said, when Helena and I were working on the website copy, we couldn't afford a ghostwriter, so we just said, okay, we're going to write it ourselves. So every single word that you read on the website, it comes from us. It comes from our hearts. And I played the audio book in the background, What I Know For Sure. And as I was writing her, I was writing her voice. So if you read the mantra behind, actually we're the first beauty brand to incorporate mantras in every single product. So as I was writing the mantra for role model, I said to myself, well, what would Oprah say? What would Oprah Winfrey say? And then I said, she would say, you are the most influential person you will ever meet. You're your own role model. And so I just started writing in that voice. And then I circled back with Helena, because Helena named all the beauty products. And a year later, we got picked to be her favorite thing.
It was during the pandemic, too, where a lot of businesses could die, and she was the lifeline for our business single-handedly. We were in a year of 2020 where toilet paper was our competition and paper towels.
And hand sanitizer.
And hand sanitizer, right. So, and you're thinking, well, why would people buy lip gloss? You know, we're wearing masks. Who's going to actually wear the actual gloss? But we did find a huge uptick in sales as a result, as Oprah, as her favorite thing. That result, it is an incredible amount in sales, but recognition. And that from that moment, you get her stamp of approval, it opens a lot of doors. So we are headed to the next phase, which is new products. By the time you do see this video, the products have launched. So we're excited about the new product launches. We're going to Dubai, so we're expanding over there, which is partly why Fevin is going back to Dubai. But we have some exciting things that I want to talk about, but we can't talk about just yet. But they'll go hand in hand with what we're doing at 2-for-1 Cosmetics. So stay tuned.
So every woman who's up here on stage today is wearing 2-for-1 Cosmetics, and that's a special. And the thing that so these are extraordinary soul sisters in my life, thanks to their brother Nate Johannes. I'm very blessed to have been a philanthropist very young, early in my days, and the gentleman who managed our personal dollars many years ago, 13 years ago, said, I want to invite you to the first ever Forbes Summit on Philanthropy. And that grew to the opportunity to go every single year hanging out with people like Bill and Melinda Gates and Warren Buffett, 100, 150 people, so extraordinary. And then I was invited to Liberia with Forbes. And then one year, Randall Lane decided he wanted to bring Forbes from New York City to San Francisco. And we hosted at Casa Almade the gathering of those incredible philanthropists. And that is where I met Nate. And he is an AI expert who had been working for the CTO of Microsoft, now at Meta. And he was the one who introduced me to his incredible sisters. And in the spirit of our supporting especially women entrepreneurs, I wanted them to be part of this ecosystem. This is a shout out now to JD Schramm, because these extraordinary women, we wanted them physically here on the stage. And when I reached out to them to invite them to come on the stage, they said, we can't do it. But I'll tell you what, Jen, if there is anything that we really need as a next stepping stone for our career, we could really use some coaching, some professional coaching. And JD, God bless you, went down to LA to put this together and to interview. And so now they've got, the whole idea here is that everyone who speaks here is going to have something that is evergreen for their story. And so thank you, JD, for going to LA, to bringing out the best in my two soul sisters in the next chapter, where ultimately they want to give back to their home country of Eritrea. We're on that path. We're on that mission. We're on that way. And I can't wait for Nate, who just got a second master. He's worked for the Obama administration, and now he just graduated with another master's from Brown University. And so it's just going to be a beautiful, this community that we're building is just quite extraordinary. Now, when you speak about communities, there just doesn't get any better than Cedric Nwafar. He came as an Africa Middle East leadership Amel project. We got invited here in San Francisco to this fundraiser, and he walked up to the stage, and from the moment he started to speak, my heartstrings were pulled forever. And now he is literal chosen family. He has been to our home in Kennebunkport, Maine numerous times. We are family, and we are deeply invested in what he is bringing into the world. Where you heard from Emily and Kwame in the primarily for-profit sector of regenerative agriculture, Cedric Nwafar has built an unbelievable program teaching regenerative agriculture to students in the University of Maryland, and then bringing it not to his home country of Cameroon, to Uganda and Liberia. So we welcome to the stage Cedric Nwafar. Love you. Can't wait to hear your story.
Cedricio Nwafar, Cedricio Nwafar, Cedricio Nwafar.
Merci beaucoup. Okay, so it's August 15, 2015. I'm standing in this farm right next to Farmer Drew in Idaho. And he's telling me about his life as a farmer in Idaho. And at that moment, it dawned on me that this was the first time I've been close to mountains since I left Cameroon. So this took me back home. I'm 11 years old. I'm walking 11 miles with a heavy bag of corn, my neck hurting, my feet burning. And in the back of my mind, that night, we were still not guaranteed our next meal. I always wondered as a kid, how could the people that feed the world go to bed hungry? So fast forward a few years later, I made it to the US through my mom, who came as an asylee. I had the typical immigrant story. I worked in Kosi doing dishes. I worked at the Holiday Inn as a laundry person washing the laundry. And I was also a bellman. And one happy afternoon, I met this group of 11 farmers from Idaho. They heard about my story in agriculture. I was talking to their leader. His name is Rick Wheatley. And Rick asked about my background. I told him about agriculture in Cameroon, what we grew. We grew corn. We grew legumes. We had 6 different farms, not your 400-acre farm here in the US, about a 1-acre or 2-acre farm. So when Rick heard about my background in agriculture, this group generously offered me to travel over to Idaho, and I stayed with over 10 farmers for 10 days. And that is how I found myself in Farmer Drew's farm, looking at those mountains, and then I got lost. I was watching the tractor on his farm. And at that moment, I realized that the amount of time it took, 5 minutes, for that tractor to till the soil was equivalent to the time my whole family worked for a week. So this tractor really became a symbol of resources, expertise, know-how, that if connected to the African continent in a regenerative, in an intentional manner, could help elevate families like mine out of hunger and poverty. One thing I'll tell you is that right next to one of our farms in this place called KTC was an agricultural school, and they had all of the knowledge and the technology there that if one student came out of KTC and told us, hey, Mama, plant your corn on a straight row, you get better yields. Oh, this is what your soil is missing. it might have guaranteed us a meal. But nobody came out. So now, that is the story that we see all across the African continent, right? You know that in some parts in the African continent, we have one extension agent to 10,000 farmers. Looks like my slides are not moving. Okay, there it is. Okay, but in the US, that's about one extension agent to 150 farmers. I know extension agent it might be a new term, but an extension agent is somebody that takes knowledge from an academic institution and spreads it into the community. And we have 1 to 10,000, and then you have 1 to 150. We have farmers that have never seen an extension agent. We have farmers that do not even know who an extension agent is, right? Also, in the continent, we've seen research that shows that out of all of the research that we do in the continent, only 13% reaches out to the last mile farmer. And out of that, only about 5% is actually applied. So now, when you ask yourself, why is it that millions of billions of dollars are being poured into the continent and we're barely making a dent in combating hunger and poverty? This is one of the major reasons. If farmers do not have the foundational knowledge of agriculture, every innovation that you pump into the country doesn't make it to the people that need it the most, so they do not grow. So, when I left Idaho, I made it back to the state of Maryland. I enrolled at the University of Maryland, studying agriculture and resource economics with one goal in mind: to connect academic institutions, experts in the US to farming community in Africa. We started as a student club. We were video conferencing with students in Liberia. We were using WebEx. That's when it was very innovative. So this speech would have been about how we use WebEx. So we were identifying challenges that farmers were facing. We fundraised. We traveled over to Liberia. We implemented the solutions for our farmers. But now we've grown into a movement of building agricultural change makers in Africa. They are not just going out to train farmers, they're training farmers as a business. So a change maker for us is an agricultural student who has studied agriculture. We give them the tools, the resources, and we tell them, yes, you can. And they go out into their community. They train farmers, not just train farmers, training them as a business. That is critical. So when you hear all of the grand challenges that you've seen here, right? You see one extension agent to 10,000 farmers. You see the gap in research not making it to the farmers. You've heard some of the grand challenges that we face in the world today. As founders, you want to keep grinding. Because when you come to the US, you have opportunity. Every minute counts. A minute of me mentoring or coaching a young change maker may mean a farmer gets trained for an entire season. $100 may mean a farmer gets training for an entire season. So why should you rest? Who gave you the right to rest when you could do so much? But a lifetime of this is not enough. Even a lifetime of continuously grinding, you cannot solve this problem. So now, as founders, we keep going. And in that process, I found myself in San Francisco, met Jen and Tim, and Tim was there too. So met Jen and Tim, and we kicked it off. They are my chosen family. So when they invited me for a day to breathe, I was ecstatic. A time to pause, right? So I came in for my day to breathe. One moment stood out to me. We were taking the nature walk, and I look down, and I see Land's End. And I've always meditated, and they'll tell me, hey, close your eyes. Imagine you are on a beach somewhere. The waves are coming. You hear the seagull and all of that. So most often I'll go to Thailand. I've never been to Thailand, but I close my eyes, Thailand is the place. But once I found Land's End, that became my place of peace. So in my days of chaos, when I close my eyes or when I meditate, I go to Land's End. So there were 3 things that came out of my day to breathe. 3 key insights. Number 1 is community has gravity. And you'll see a lot of pattern in our speeches today because Dr. Christine also touched on this. We would come and go. Roots Africa will come and go. Our change makers will come and go. But the community would always be there. So strengthening this community is our sole focus. You've all heard the saying that if you give a man a fish, you feed them for a day. You teach them how to fish, you feed them for life. But now, what happens when that river dries off? You teach them how to organize. So our sole focus is ensuring that we empower the community, we strengthen the communities that we work with, so that even if we are not there today, that community will still go on. The second key lesson that I came out of my day to breathe, or insight that I came out from my day to breathe, is data must and is our superpower. We measure everything. Whatever it could be, we measure it for ourselves so that we know that the impact that we're having is real and it will be there for a long time, but also for the community so that they can use it to empower themselves and drive their decision-making. We also measure the community to ensure that we understand the resources and whoever is a key player in the space. There are a few things that we measure. We do a mindset assessment where we assess whether this community, are they a dependent community or are they a community that will own their problems and their solution. We also do resource mapping. This is a very, very important one, where we identify what are the existing resources that are in that community so that we can allow the community to leverage those resources. We measure things like the natural resources, the human capital that is in that community. What is the government currently doing? What are other NGOs doing? So you know, most often as NGOs, 100 of us will come to a community, we'll do one thing, and then we'll go. But there is this wise African saying that if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. So by identifying all of these tools and resources within the community, it gives us levers to pull those resources together to push that community forward. We also measure where the community is in their growth. We have the discovery stage, we have the foundational stage, we have the growth stage, we have the empowerment stage, and then we have the transformational stage where they become a model for other communities to come and learn from them. And it is our fervent belief that a community with the existing resources that they have, they can move from one stage to the next. The last and final thing that I came out of my day to breathe, which is the ultimate key point that I would like to emphasize, is passing the walk-away test. And I remember Dr. Christine also mentioned this point. If we were to leave today, would our programs survive? If we leave today, would the program leave with us, or would it stay there? And that, to us, is our ultimate measure of success. So, we've done our best to ensure that if we left, our programs will always be there. We've established 19 farmer businesses that train farmers. So these are students that go out, train farmers, and generate income. They're generating revenue from training farmers. These 648 changemakers from 9 institutions in the continent have gone out and trained over 11,000 family households. So if we leave today, a community that owns its problems, it owns its solution, and changemaker businesses that are still thriving, they are not leaving with us. They are staying in those communities. That's why, in spite of the drastic cuts that you've seen from USAID and funding going to the continent, despite all of its damages, organizations are reaching out to us to say, hey, how come you're still working? That's because the community owns the problem and the community owns their solution. So all what we are doing, thank you. So all what we are doing, we are partners in this journey. So now the one thing I would like to leave with you to ponder here and later on is, what kind of supporter are you? Are you creating dependency, or are you building change makers? So when you give, think about that for a second. Because in this story, if you're building change makers, you may not be the hero in that story, but you would have left change that will be there for generations to come. And as Dr. Christine said, the one thing I want you to remember, Africa really doesn't need charity. it needs change makers. And those change makers need resources, they need space, they need access in order to grow. Thank you so much.
That was incredible. Thank you so much, Cedric, for really telling us about your work with Roots Africa, but really that importance of understanding that there's so many moving parts that need to come together for enterprise and business to come to life. It is not easy, the work that you're doing. So thank you very much for sharing that. As someone who's a speaker, a soon-to-be entrepreneur, and a number of things, I know too how challenging it can be to bring a lot of things together. And as I was learning about the Rugged Elegance Foundation and this ecosystem, there are a lot of moving parts. So I'm excited to dig into our next one, which is the Butterfly Effect Fund. And just a note, for all of you that are here, if you want to watch any of these talks again, they will be on YouTube. And for those watching, if you want to replay, they will be on YouTube. It's the Rugged Elegance Presents YouTube channel. So next up, let's learn about the Butterfly Effect Fund. So let's have Tim come up to the stage. Thank you for coming. Love the jacket.
Oh, thank you.
Very fresh, very fly. So, you know, there are a lot of funds in the world, and the Butterfly Fund, the Butterfly Effect Fund is really unique. I'd love for you to tell us the origin of the Butterfly Effect Fund and what makes it unique.
Well, thank you so much, Kudzi. Well, I think first I want to thank Fev and Helena because I realized what I'm going to put on my tombstone. It's going to say, and Tim was there too. Okay, sorry, I couldn't resist that one. Oh dear. Okay, so the butterfly effect, you know, I'm sitting here watching, you know, all the speakers. I loved what Christine said about amplify. The big takeaway is the A is for ask. And Cedric, you know, the walkaway test, that's another an involving community. And really, that's so much about what the Butterfly Effect Fund is about, is well, first off, the idea is that, you know, small changes can have massive impact in the world. And we are very excited about doing something that's just different. And in 1997, I don't know if people are young enough here to remember Steve Jobs and the Think Different campaign, but he challenged the rebels and the change makers to think different. And I think this is now a time for philanthropy in particular to think different. And I love the regenerative agriculture. I love that idea about leaving things better than the way that we found them. And so let me talk a little bit about what the Butterfly Effect Fund is about. Number one, it's a nonprofit fund. So we're not seeking to make money doing this. In fact, all the financial results flow back into the community that we're serving. So I'll take a step back, and you know, we had that great hurricane slide up with all the different elements of what we're doing at Rugged Elegance and the Day to Breathe and so forth. So over 5 years, we've served 216 change-making leaders from 26 different countries. And a couple of years ago, Jen and I sat down and said, okay, so what difference are we really making? And we kind of added up all the money that we had inspired our community to invest in the change makers that we were serving. And we were kind of shocked to find out that it totaled up to $5 million. So this is both grants and also investments in the organizations that had come for a Day to Breathe. And Jennifer and I said to ourselves, you know, we did that and we weren't really intentional about that. So maybe we need to be intentional about that. And maybe we need to really buy in what we're telling our entrepreneurs to do and to 12x themselves. So as we thought about, okay, so if we did $5 million, could we do $60 million of investing? And then we said, we don't have the resources to do that, you know, and we don't really even have, you know, when we look at our wider community, we say, okay, how could we tap into the resources of the wider community? And it took some time, but the net of it was that we came up with this idea of the Butterfly Effect Fund. So it's a not-for-profit fund, and we're focused on, so we've had a total of 150 enterprises, both for-profit and non-profit, come for the Day to Breathe, and we distilled that down to 40 entities that we thought could really scale. So another thing that's different about what we're doing is we're serving both for-profit and non-profit leaders. So that's really different than a venture capital fund, for instance, might do. And then we also use, another thing that's really different is we actually involve the community in the decisions that get made. So we have a community council that consists of 3 of our donor partners. So we don't have limited partners, we have donor partners, because when you put money into the fund, you're actually making a donation to the fund and you're letting go of control of that fund. And that fund is now led by the community of donor partners. And then on the other hand, we have 3 recipient partners. So 3 donor partners, 3 recipient partners. And then Jen and I occupy the 7th, the final seat. So the community who's in touch with what's happening decides where the capital goes.
Why was that important? So for context, normally a fund would have an investment committee or a group of general partners who then decide. Why was it important for the community to be part of the decision making, which I know sounds good to have, but from a fund perspective, why?
Because we want to get proximate with the change that's happening, and you can't get any more proximate than the leaders who represent that change.
That makes sense. And I know there's one other aspect, which is that how the returns of the fund work. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we use what's called an integrated capital approach. So we have grants, recoverable grants, debt, and equity are the 4 forms of capital. Now for the nonprofit organizations, they're probably talking about grants, recoverable grants, and debt would be the financial instruments that we would use to them. So the idea is that even with the nonprofit entities, that capital comes back into the fund, right? And then for the for-profit entities, we're really talking about recoverable grants, debt, and equity, and that they would also have financial returns that come back into the fund.
Makes sense. I'd love to learn, for those future entrepreneurs in here and the ones that we've heard from that you have invested in as you were, before you thought of the fund. 1, what areas do you focus on for a fund? And then 2, what makes for Jen and Tim, like the profile of an entrepreneur that you want to support? When are you like, this person has something special?
Great question. So first, let me start with our core belief. Our core belief is that, and you've heard it before today, that talent is evenly distributed, but capital is not. And so that really drives us. And we took a kind of deep dive to say, okay, where is capital not flowing? And first and foremost, the number 1 place where capital is not flowing is to women. And when you look at, for instance, the United States, 60% of students in higher ed, so this is colleges, universities, all the way up through grad school and doctorate programs, 60% women. But guess how much venture capital goes to women-led startups in the United States? 2%. Why? That's a good question. I think it really boils down to the fact that the capital allocators are typically white straight men, and they invest where they feel comfortable, and that's with other white straight men. So we want to change that, and one of the areas where we can change, there's 2 aspects that we can change. One is that we can invest in women-led startups, and we're actively doing that, and that will be a key focus of the fund. And a second key focus of the fund is to invest in capital allocators who are going to see the world differently. So these are women venture capitalists, these are BIPOC venture capitalists, and so forth. So they're going to see the world differently, and the capital get allocated. So that's the women-led startups. The second area is mental health and resilience. And less than 2% of philanthropic capital goes to mental health and resilience, yet the economic impact of mental health and resilience is in the trillions of dollars on a global basis. So that's a huge capital gap as well. And the third area, and in many ways, all 3 of these come together in Africa. So the stat that blows my mind is that over the next 25 years, there will be 800 million entrants into the global workforce from the African continent. So 800 million people, that's more than double the total population of the United States. So if there's any area of potential that I can imagine in the world, it is in Africa. So we're very excited about investing in Africa. Now, some of the things that are important to understand in Africa is that when you look at sub-Saharan Africa, these are tiny farms, as Cedric mentions, 1 or 2 acre farms. And who are the farmers in Africa? It's women, predominantly women. It's 2/3 of the farmers in sub-Saharan Africa are women because it's considered the occupation of last resort. But where do we think that there's the most opportunity to change things in Africa? It's with women, right? Because what does a woman do in Africa when she starts to, for instance, with True Moringa and 10x their income? The first thing they do is start to send their children to school. And so that creates this ripple effect. If there's a magic bullet in the world to change things, it's with women, and especially with women in Africa. So that's something that we're very excited about.
That's amazing. That's the actual butterfly effect in action. That is cool. As we wrap, as we think about 12xing, and now we have digital heirs, we can 50x. What is one hope that you have for the Butterfly Effect Fund? Like, if you were to go, I don't know what your investment horizon is, but 5, 7, 10, 20 years, what would you hope to have achieved?
Wow, great question. So we're taking what we call an open source approach to the fund. So we realize there's a lot of things that we are unable to do, even with digital heirs. And we want to create transformational impact in the world. And there are a lot of areas that we're not addressing. For instance, climate change would be the first that comes to mind. So we want to collaborate with people who want to take a like-minded approach to different areas. So if you're one of those people, come talk to me. I think that we like to think big. And I would like this to be $1 billion fund, so why not? And we would like to have each of these 3 pillars, the women-led founders or women-led organizations, mental health and resilience, and Africa Rising become each their own individual fund. And I'm 66 years old. I'm thinking, okay, I have at least 10 good years left, and I'm going to do this, but I want to transition that to someone else at some point. So,
thank you so much. I wish you longer living, but we will always have your digital heir. How about that? Thank you so much, Tim. This is amazing, and we'll bring up Jen to introduce our next speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So again, just thank you for being a part of this profound day where this is history in the making here. We're creating a new form of effect. And before Gagan and Marguerite leave, I just have to give a shout out to these 2 extraordinary people. There's a very special man in our lives who sat us down a long time ago when we got started. He was one of the first climate activists who stepped in and stepped up and caught the vision of what we're building. And he has a vision like I do. Imagine all the people in the world who have a second or third home sitting there vacant. And they might not want to use it as an Airbnb, but as a place to purpose, for founders, for day use. Heck yeah. This gentleman helped me build this vision, help us build that vision. And then he took it a next step further, and he really got us sinking into our role as philanthropists, where our focus had been racial equity and gender equity and health and well-being in the world and peace and education and climate change and collaboration. In the world of sustainable development goals, we were focused in this area. But he said, we want this to be, he really saw the vision of how we can make this regenerative and sustainable for the long haul, outside of ourselves. And so, Gagan, I thank you. I thank you for being here today on this profound day with the Soulful Network. You were one of the most soulful members of my life. In the world of social impact, you just don't get any better. And to have your partner, Marguerite, who has been on this journey with us the past few months to create what we're going to call the Chrysalis Club, where we not only want the founders to rise, but in the form of a butterfly, it's the founders and the funders who will rise. So together, we're going to take this whole new world of philanthropy and step in, a focus from those areas of sustainable development goals, a focus on founders. He said, lean into your personal story. And it is thanks to you that I get to say today that I am moving from a needle where that will be kind of something of the past, that happened to me. This is happening for me, and we are leaning in and we're stepping up. So God bless you. Thank you for coming. And I can't wait to take this next chapter of life with the two of you. And happy birthday. Love you. And thank you for the flowers. Oh my gosh. So, I mean, just really, this is an incredible community. This is a community of global leaders. And we couldn't be here today without each and every one of you. I mean, we're stepping into a new phase, as Tim described. This is a new way of doing philanthropy, and we want everyone in this room to think of themselves as a philanthropist. We've got to change that notion of, oh, you have to have money to be a philanthropist. The heck with that. You bring such brilliant sources of capital with your wisdom, your knowledge, your experience, your culture, your intellect. You are a philanthropist. What can you bring to these entrepreneurs? And now I want to pivot from that to honor our beautiful, beautiful band members. Gabe, thank you for being here, bringing this incredible talent. He's going to introduce our musicians, and then we'll move on to Brenda, our last speaker.
Thank you, Jen. First off, I just want to say how wonderful and inspiring it is to see this tremendous focus on Africa and the resources there and the wisdom there that so often goes unacknowledged and unrecognized. In about 1990 or so, I fell in love with one of those resources myself. I was introduced to a Nigerian drummer by the name of Babatunde Olatunji and went and played for my first African dance class and was pretty instantly transformed just with the alchemy going on there with the drummers and the dancers. I fell in love with the drum, and that inspired me to take my first trip to West Africa in 1995, and that was probably one of, if not the biggest learning experience of my life. I met and lived with a society of people who were financially poor and culturally rich. And I saw how that was what sustained the people there in a tremendous way, and in a way that we here in the States are often lacking and in need of. It is a richness as equal to financial richness that we experience here. Anyway, that inspired me eventually to create an organization called Rhythm Village, committed to sharing that cultural wisdom in meaningful ways here in the United States through drumming workshops and performances of music and acknowledgement of the rich heritage that it comes from. And to that end, I have with me today some of my favorite musicians and performers and friends. I'll start with Daniel over here, who I've known for many years. We've played in the Bay Area for a long time. He is another person passionate about African music, studied the kora, traditional instrument from West Africa, and has played with Africans and all kinds of people in the Bay Area. We share a lot of music together, play together as a duo sometimes. Thank you for being here, Daniel. And behind me, hiding in the shadows, we have Nabi Bongora, master, not only drummer, but truly master dancer from Guinea, West Africa. I've been friends with Nabi since he showed up here with Les Merveilles de Guinée in what do you remember when that was? 1998. And so it's been wonderful to share this path with him. He's one of the premier dance teachers in the Bay Area and a really wonderful friend. So thank you, Nabi, for being here. And on my right, we have Manju Kone, who is comes from the griot lineage. She's from Burkina Faso and grew up in Mali and embodies the tradition of a long family heritage of the griot tradition. And the griots, or jelly as they're called in West Africa, are the keepers of the history and the culture and the family histories through songs and music and dance. If you were a young man or woman coming of age in West Africa, you might find yourself visited by a jelly who would come and sing you your family history. And it's really, truly beautiful, beautiful tradition, and something I've been honored to be close to and get to know. And Manju is also a phenomenal, as you will see, dancer and musician and drummer as well. So thank you for being here with us, Manju. Thank you.
Thank you so much, all four of you, for being here and bringing such soul to this incredible day. We, as Tim just explained, the Butterfly Effect Fund is for entrepreneurs, both for-profit and nonprofit entrepreneurs. We are primarily in the pre-seed, seed, and Series A realm of support. But we also want to support people who are really just getting started. Somebody who has such possibility, such potential. And Allison and I had the privilege of attending a regenerative AI summit in Mountain View a couple of months ago. And this extraordinary woman, Brenda, was on one of the panels of founders. And we just took to her soulfully and invited her for a day to breathe. She actually came for her day to breathe on her birthday. So it was quite special. And my parents are getting on in age. And taking care of elderly people is a challenge. And this woman is bringing to the world robots specifically for the elderly. Wow. So I welcome to the stage Brenda Njuru from Kenya. Welcome. And we can't wait to hear your story. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, Brenda. Yeah, Brenda. Brenda, welcome.
Raised in Kenya, and I used to watch a lot of sci-fi. This is one of my heroes, Tony Stark, aka known Iron Man. So I was obsessed with him. I think you remember when Iron Man came out in 2013, and I was just blown away. And the AI he was building and the robots he was building, and I really wanted to be Iron Man, but you know. And then there was R2-D2, and C-3PO from Star Wars. And, you know, Star Wars is about intergalactic travel and on spaceships and, you know, traveling after the speed of light. And I became very fascinated with space. And more importantly, I became very fascinated with the robots. And you also see that they are robots that have empathy and companionship with humans. So I think for me, the human-robot interaction part has always been very, very fascinating. And I was a very good student, but I was always daydreaming and just creating worlds in my mind and just always imagining the future and sci-fi and just daydreaming. And that led me to applying and getting and moving to Cornell. Because, you know, I'm in Kenya and I want to explore the world and I want to see what's out there. So I got into Cornell, and it was one of the richest experiences in my life just because I got to be surrounded by the most brilliant minds from all over the world. There were kids from Africa and like from other parts of the world, so that was a really enriching experience. But you know, I moved from Kenya with one suitcase, my little bag. I didn't know a lot of people. So I left my family, I left my friends there. And I got there and I was like, well, where are my people? But guess what? I found some sci-fi nerds, and we would go on the first nights of Star Wars premiere, we would go to the theater and just wait in line to watch these towers coming out. And more importantly, they were also brain researchers. If you really think about it, the brain is like a machine, and robots are like machines. So I wanted to understand, how does the brain work? How does our engine work? So we did a lot of research in Alzheimer's and dementia, and we were trying to understand, first, how does the brain work? But then secondly, what happens? How does the brain go wrong, and then people get Alzheimer's and dementia and forget? You know, I think the theme in my life has been always following my joy. So I was so joyful being in lab, just a kid from Kenya and doing research, and I was like, oh my God, this is heaven for me. And I did not notice the days go by, or like the time go by. So even I barely went home during my time at Cornell. I was always in lab, and we researched a lot. We did a lot of research and published a lot of papers that have been very useful in the Alzheimer's community. Fast forward to graduation, COVID happens. By this time, my family lives in Seattle. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. Hi, family. They're tuning in. By this time, my family is in Seattle, and my journey was to go to medical school. And my family got into retirement services because we were very huge in serving other people. And I realized, oh boy, I have been doing research in Alzheimer's. I understand how it works, but this is in lab mice. How do human beings actually do it with Alzheimer's? So I started working with seniors, and it was also another really enriching experience in my life. It really opened up my heart, because when you're a researcher and a scientist, you're in lab and like you're doing hardcore science, and then you come and you start working with people, and you have someone in front of you with Alzheimer's and dementia, or a senior, and you realize you're witnessing another person and their struggle. So I got to work with seniors in that way, and it really opened up my heart, and it really opened me up to the concept of serving other people. But it also got me to realize the problems in senior living and in senior care. For example, as a caregiver, caregivers are really burnt out. Even if you look at the families, if you have an aging parent and you're the primary caregiver, it's really amazing to take care of your parent. At the same time, it can get very, very difficult, right? So the caregivers are burnt out, there's high turnover, and if you look at our government, we spend $2 trillion in senior care, and yet there's such a huge gap and huge problems in the whole realm of senior living. Anyway, but my journey was to go to medical school. If you're an African kid here, you know the careers our parents have set for us, and I was like, I have to go to med school. So I moved to Boston. I enrolled at Harvard, and I started doing continued doing pre-med classes so that I could go to medical school. But at the back of that, Seattle is such a Microsoft and Amazon HQ, and I had gotten to interact with technology during my time in Seattle after I graduated. And it really brought up the little girl loving sci-fi and loving robots. And I was on track for medical school, but I said, you know what, I'm really excited by technology. So with one suitcase again, packed my bag, and I moved to San Francisco, the epicenter of AI and robotics and everything. And I decided to work in robotics. I met my co-founder, Ilya, and we worked, and we built some robots and deployed them in the real world. One of our robots was working as a receptionist, making $500 a month. So, robots earning money in real time. And so after that, after working in the robotics company for a while, I realized, I love robots. I'm obsessed with them. And I've witnessed this huge challenge in senior living. I mean, it's beyond. So I said, there's something that we can do with robotics and with senior living. So I co-founded a startup working with building humanoid robots for seniors. And what do our robots do? Just like R2-D2, and 3CPO, they can give empathy, they can give companionship. So there's that human element. When you build robots that are really human-centered, there's that human element they can give. At the same time, they have utility. They can do fall detection, medication reminders on all the things that a caregiver can do. We're not really trying to replace caregivers. We're actually trying to augment them so that they can focus on the human-centered part of care and the human connection. And then we went to this conference, and I met Jen and Allison. Tim was not there. And you just really connected at a soul level, and they saw me and they just really believed in me, and I really deeply appreciate that. And they saw the vision of what I was building. So I did my daily breathe. And what came up for me in my daily breathe was, okay, my journey is always following my excitement. I followed my joy, my excitement. I've left the med school path. I'm building robotics. It's my highest excitement. But my question in my daily breathe was like, are you ready to step into this? I think this is your purpose. Are you ready to step into it? And my answer was yes. And since that time, I think when you give the universe a very clear sign and direction of this is what I'm doing, everything aligns to support you in that. And after that time, we have partnered with the best humanoid robotics manufacturers in the world, and we are starting to deploy our robots in senior living facilities across the Bay Area. Our goal is to build our own robots. I believe I want to impart my robots with empathy and with connection. So I would we're working on building our own robots, but it does take time. So to navigate that, we have partnered with the best humanoid manufacturers, and we are launching in the Bay Area and doing demos and pilot programs. And this brings me back, makes me want to cry, to my girlhood dream. So I wanted to be Iron Man, I wanted to be Tony Stark, but guess what? Here I am being Iron Woman, right? Here I am being Iron Woman, a little kid from Kenya in Silicon Valley, the land of AI, building robots and deploying them. So it's my childhood dream come true. And what I can say in my journey and from all the experiences and my observation is like, no matter what path you think you have, always follow your highest joy, always follow your highest excitement, and always follow your passion, because it leads to your purpose. When you follow your highest joy, you meet the right people, you get the right information, it goes to the next step, and I believe that's what life is all about. So following your highest joy, your excitement, and your passion, which leads to your soul's and life's purpose. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brenda. And I have to acknowledge, it has been a joy to work with you as you have worked through the narrative of the joy that you are bringing.
Thank you.
So, delightful, delightful. I'm going to invite all of our speakers back up on stage. For those I haven't had the privilege of meeting, I'm JD Schramm. You've heard me acknowledge from the back of the room. I've had the joy, really, that is the best word, of coaching these remarkable speakers. And as was mentioned earlier, we really want their talks that they delivered to have an evergreen quality, that are going to be available for months, years to propel their startups and their organizations. But we want to really let them do what entrepreneurs do best. They're each going to do a 1-minute pitch for what they most need next, so that you can understand what it is that they are committed to. And everybody who knows me knows I am really strict about this 1-minute thing. So if you can grab the microphone there, Christine and Emily, you two have your mics already on. And this also sets you up, because there's a remarkable reception. The caterers just showed up, and it's setting up downstairs for us. This lets you know what conversations you can have with these 4 remarkable, remarkable speakers. So, 1 minute with Christine. What do you need most from us? You do whatever you want your 60 seconds to be.
Perfect. I teach people on pitches, and I'm like, whew, I hope none of them are watching. Just kidding. My name is Christine Garuya. I'm a physician and global health researcher. I like to say physician by day, global health researcher by night. And I've been working on non-communicable diseases for the past 10 years. As you've heard from Tim, unfortunately, non-communicable diseases like heart disease, cancer, and even mental health only receive 2% of funding, despite their overtaking of communicable diseases like TB, HIV, and malaria. My lab, the NCD Rights Lab, because health should be a right, has been focusing on these areas for the past 10 years, and we're currently excited to be moving into heart attacks and strokes, including something called the ACT package, to be able to make sure that every 40-year-old has access to an EKG, every 60-year-old has access to an MRI or CAT scan, and equal rights to that treatment to ensure equal outcomes in their non-communicable disease journey. Thank you. Woo.
Emily, do not worry that the applause did not come out of your 1 minute, okay? And we've covered up your co-partner since he didn't show with a QR code. Tell us what's up.
So I'd love to invite all of you into our Regenerative Revolving Fund. This year, we are raising $1 million to support 4,000 farmers to permanently break the cycle of poverty through $250 investments at a time. So $250 is what it takes for a farmer to invest in the organic seeds, fertilizer, and inputs they need to kickstart their regenerative farm. And if you scan this QR code here, you can be part of that. And I would also just love to speak to everyone at the reception afterwards so that you can try, sample, and take home some of the wonderful products that we grow on our regenerative organic farm.
Excellent. Thank you, Emily. Cedric.
Okay, so you've heard about Roots Africa. Now we are taking a step forward. We are building a platform called Havuno. We've established partnerships with hundreds of inputs providers in Africa. And our goal is for a farmer to come out of a cooperative, go to an input provider, loan all the inputs that they need. That's the seed, the tools, the fertilizer that they need, go back, get training for our change makers. The change maker aggregates their product, and we connect them to a market. This is a one-stop shop that provides the farmer everything they need: inputs, training, and market. So right now, we're looking for $250,000 to guarantee our loans to these farmers. Thank you.
Whoa. And Brenda, what is it that you need the most right now?
As you've heard, we're building and deploying robots. So I invite you, if you have aging parents, you can pre-order our robots. And if you know senior living facilities and have good relationships with them, we'd love introduction so that we can get in there as well. We are building our robots, so that's capital intensive. And we are raising money, $5 million, to build the robots and deploy them in the world. So investors and anybody with financial capital, we invite you to join us in this mission. And robotics is very lucrative. It's going to be a huge market than the internet and everything. So it's very lucrative market. So I'd like us to meet here 10 years from now, 2030, 2045, and we'll have robots among us. So help us deploy robots that can coexist with humans and that can relate and connect well with human-centric values. Thank you.
Excellent. I just want to thank all of you for the gifts you have shared and the dreams that you are building, and we look forward to supporting you in all of that. Thank you so much. And now I get to invite up all of our team and our MCs, Kudzi and Jen. I want the team up, and we're going to be joined by Reverend Ken Daigle, the senior minister here at Unity San Francisco. And yes, and Tim. I got a little worried when you were saying, I'm 66 years old, and you were talking also about your tombstone. I'm like, no, Tim. So we just want quickly, before we go downstairs, and we got some wild music coming in a minute here, we just want to have a moment to acknowledge and thank what it took to put this together. And I think we want to be sure that we can begin with our host in the community, Reverend Ken Daigle, who is my partner in life and senior minister here. Thank you for the space and for allowing us to do Discovery here today.
Well, thank you all for being here. It's so exciting for me personally to see this space used this way. we call ourselves a spiritual community for the 21st century, and part of that is we are unapologetically inclusive. We realize and we live by the mantra that it is important that we reach out and find the wisdom in the community. And the community is each and every one of us, and diversity enriches us all. So when Tim and Jennifer came to us with the first one of these that we did, they decided that they wanted to put a backdrop up so that they could have a backdrop, and I talked them into buying this screen instead. So my never-ending gratitude, because I got to sit here and watch what this screen can and does do. And our invitation to you is for all of you that this community and this building is a resource for you. If you have events you need to launch, if you have symposiums you want to give, you have events like this that you want to do, Unity San Francisco is here for you so that we build a cultural bridge to the community so that we create a world that works for everyone, no exceptions, no exclusions. Amen. On June 21st, Wanda Whitaker is going to be here with a group called Culture Connects Us, and they're doing a live podcast from this space. And on the 29th, we're doing our Pride service here, where we're having two great speakers, one of them who's sitting in the front row here, talking about their journey in the LGBTQ plus community, so that church can finally let go of this bigotry and step into being the place that connects us all and lifts us all up. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so this is our last word. This is our last moment. We did not script who's going to go first.
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much.
So we'll just go
coming.
down the road, and I get the last word.
Thank you all. Thank you to all the Day to Breathe graduates who came today in support of our work. And I'll pass to Jen. Thank you.
And my thanks are really to this incredible team. Thank you for being my co-MC. Thank you for all the efforts, the incredible dedication, passion, purpose. And to each and every one of you here with us making history today, thank you for your role. So many significant leaders in this crowd here today and online. Thank you. And for all those who didn't get to be here online because it was after hours, like maybe midnight, because it's late in Africa, thank you so much for participating in this and being part of this journey to help 12X and bring Africa to a level of rise that we've never seen before.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jen and Tim and everyone at the Rugged Elegance Foundation. I could have never imagined 10 years ago from moving from South Africa to the US to go to Stanford, being coached by JD way back when, and then meeting Jen 2 weeks ago that I would be here talking about, celebrating Rising Africa. Something's happening in the universe that connects us all. So thank you for this. This is amazing.
Thank you, Kudzi. Well, I want to thank all the speakers and everybody that put so much effort into this. I want to thank Ryan and Bruno back there at the operating AV. What's that? Yeah, and Jesse and Amrita at Ours that were working in the background to make sure that Fred Swaniker's air performed properly. So one of the things I was thinking about this morning as the women were getting made up in our home was that in some...
With 2-for-1 Cosmetics.
2-for-1 Cosmetics, yes. And I played football in college, but for me it was kind of like, okay, this is game day, right? And that Coach JD coached up all the speakers, and I know how much effort the speakers put into their talks, and it is a bit nerve-wracking to get up here on the stage and speak about what you're doing. But I think the thing that I walked away with is that doing this forces you to really clarify your thinking and to be more authentically who you are. And we appreciate your radical inclusivity, and we want people to be authentically who they are, so that because that's who you're meant to be in the world. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. I think it's easy to get discouraged with some of the things that are happening in Washington, but then there's also the flip side of it is that I think there's an opportunity here that we all have, and it is to think different, think about new ways of doing things. In order to transform our world, we need to transform ourselves. So thank you for joining us.
Awesome, awesome. I'm going to do a shout out that we have not yet done, and that is to our online community. We had in the room, the highest number I counted in the room was 68, but we were almost double that with the people who joined us online from, get this, Oakland, Detroit, Montreal, Morocco, Uganda, Nigeria, and Kenya. Woo! Thank you, online community. The best line that we heard from the online community was Laura from Fred Swanekers, yes.
ALU.
She said, that really sounds like Fred. So, yeah.
We did it! Good job.
And I get the cool privilege of letting you know that while Discovery 4.0 is almost over, Discovery 5.0, which will be focused on mental health entrepreneurs, is scheduled right here in this space, Saturday, October 4th. So we are looking forward to that. I want to kick it to the band.
Ye turunani misia turunani misi Papa jantara kele yorola turunani misi Famaduo saduga na sambo duga Ye tulubo Turunani misi Awa tulubo Turunani misi Yeah, turunani misi Turunani misi Baba Soliwa Jimmy. We thank you for your hard work. We thank you for coming today. We thank you for thinking of Africa. Oh, Mama Africa. Yes, Africa. Oh, Africa. She has everything you know what I mean. Africa doesn't need, you know what I mean. Africa needs support. She's already have everything she needs. Kelen tiyo. Oh, kelen tiyo. Yeah, kelen tiyo. Oh, Africa. 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 Yeah, free. Yeah, Africa. Yeah, oh, Africa.
How we doing? All right. We please want to ask everybody to stand up. Please. We want to share some dance movement with you guys. Very simple one and easy. Baba, are you ready?
Wow, what a way. I'm on yellow. What a way to end. We are ready to go down to the reception, and the team wants to dedicate the reception. We're not going to do toast down there, but Mwangi Mokami was a part of our first 3 Discovery events. He can't be with us here, and we dedicate the party downstairs to Mwangi. Let's go celebrate.